The most dangerous women are the ones who walk alone. She walks into a room not with noise, but with presence. There's no announcement, no need for validation, just a quiet confidence that fills the air like incense. And everyone notices. You might not see her laughing the loudest or talking the most. In fact, you might even overlook her until you try to shake her, until you realize you can't. She's calm. She's clear. She's alone, but she is not lonely. See, there's a certain kind of woman the world doesn't quite know what to do with. She doesn't follow the crowd. She doesn't chase attention. She doesn't need to be told she's enough because she already knows. And that makes her dangerous. Not dangerous in the way of harm, but dangerous in the way of power. She's untamed by expectation, unbothered by pressure, unshaken by silence. She belongs to no one but herself, and that makes her magnetic. There's something about a woman who enjoys her own company, who can walk through a bookstore, eat at a restaurant, or travel across oceans without needing a partner to make her feel complete. She walks beside herself like she's walking with an old friend, because she is. But I know what the world will say. She must be lonely. She must be waiting. She must be hiding her pain. Because the world doesn't know what to do with a woman who isn't waiting for someone to come rescue her. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met a woman who didn't flinch when you left? A woman who didn't beg for your time, your love, your apology? A woman who gave you space, not as a punishment, but as a gift for herself. That kind of woman scares people because she's not attached to your approval. She's not built on your validation. She's done the work alone. And now she shines not because of who's standing next to her, but because of who she became when no one was looking. She's dangerous because she's free. And here's what I want to say to every woman listening right now. If you are that woman, or if you're becoming her, don't let anyone tell you that your solitude is a problem to be fixed. Don't let them guilt you into shrinking, into settling, into chasing just to soothe someone else's insecurity. You are not too much because you don't need constant company. You are not cold because you've learned to guard your peace. You are not arrogant because you don't seek validation. You are not lost because you enjoy your own path. You, my friend, are becoming powerful. And people will either grow to meet you or shrink away from you. Let them. Because the woman who loves being alone has already learned the most important lesson of all. She is her own home. And once you become your own home, you stop looking for shelter in places that were never meant to hold you. So if you're listening to this, maybe on a walk, in your car, or lying in bed late at night, I just want to say this. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to be surrounded to be loved. You don't have to be needed to be worthy. You exactly as you are alone, whole, healing, growing are dangerous in the best possible way. And this is your story. Chapter 1. The world fears what it cannot control. Let's be real for a second. From the moment a girl is born, the world starts whispering in her ear, be sweet, be soft, be agreeable, be wanted. But what happens when she stops listening? What happens when she grows into a woman who doesn't need applause to know she's enough? What happens when she chooses quiet over chaos? Peace over people-pleasing? I'll tell you what happens. The world panics, because a woman who no longer craves permission is a woman the world can't control. You see, for centuries, women have been told that their value is measured by their attachment to others, by their roles mother, wife, daughter, caretaker, by their relationships, how well they're liked, how pleasing they are, how giving they can be. But what if a woman steps out of that system? What if she looks around and says, "No, thank you. I belong to myself." The world doesn't know what to do with that kind of power. It gets nervous. It calls her names. It labels her too independent, too masculine, too cold, when really she's just too free. Too free to be molded, too whole to be manipulated, too focused to be distracted. It's easier for people to understand a woman who clings to others than one who stands alone, because they can define her that way, box her in, predict her moves. But a woman who walks her own path, she's unpredictable. She might build an empire, write a book, start a movement, or simply live a beautiful life on her own terms. And that, right there, terrifies people who live off control. You might notice how the media portrays her. They call her too career-focused. They say she must be lonely. She must be hard to love. She probably has trust issues. No, she has clarity. She's chosen depth over noise, purpose over popularity, freedom over fantasy. And if that unsettles the world, so be it. Because she's not here to soothe their fears. She's here to own her life. Chapter 2. The Power in Stillness. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in complete silence and felt full? Not scrolling, not texting, not distracted. Just you, your breath, your presence, your peace. For most people, stillness feels uncomfortable, because when the world gets quiet, the inner noise gets loud. But a woman who loves being alone, she doesn't run from that silence. She walks into it. She knows that stillness isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It's where thoughts are sorted, where healing begins, where the truth rises to the surface. And you know what happens when a woman begins to sit with herself regularly? She stops lying to herself. She confronts the hard questions. She learns what she really wants, not what she's been told to want. She sheds the layers of conditioning, expectation, and fear. And slowly, she meets herself. Not the version the world asked her to be. Not the mask she wore for years to keep the peace. But her, the real her. Flawed, fierce, focused, free. Stillness reveals things that chaos tries to bury. In the quiet, she finds her voice. In the quiet, she hears her own heart beating, reminding her she's alive not because of others, but because she chooses to be. Most people try to fill their lives with noise so they don't have to deal with what's inside. But not her. She makes friends with the silence. She journals. She prays. She thinks deeply. And through that, she grows. And here's the magic of it all. When a woman becomes comfortable with stillness, she becomes impossible to manipulate. Because you can't pressure a woman who doesn't fear being alone. You can't lure her with shallow promises. You can't guilt her into staying. You can't silence her with disapproval. She's heard all the noise before and she's risen above it. She doesn't need to be the loudest in the room, because her energy already speaks volumes. Stillness is her power. It sharpens her vision. It deepens her wisdom. It centers her spirit. And if you've ever met a woman like that, you know she's a force, a gentle, grounded, immovable force. And that is the power of being alone. Chapter 3. She doesn't chase. She attracts. You ever seen a woman who doesn't chase? Not attention, not affection, not approval. She just moves through life, rooted. Not because she doesn't care, but because she knows her worth. This kind of woman doesn't run after love. She becomes love. She doesn't beg to be chosen. She chooses herself every single time. She's not playing games. She's playing for keeps. And here's the thing most people don't understand. When a woman stops chasing, she becomes magnetic. She's not pulling energy from the world, she's generating her own. You can feel it when she walks in. She doesn't need validation. She brings value. You can hear it when she speaks. No desperation, just clarity. And yes, people might misunderstand her. They might say she's too detached, too selective, or too hard to get. But here's the truth, they're not ready to admit. She's not hard to get. She's hard to fool. Because she's done the work. She's felt the sting of disappointment. She's carried her own heartbreak home, and still stood tall. She knows the cost of chasing what's not meant for her, and she's no longer willing to pay it. So now she waits, not out of fear, but from fullness. She waits for alignment, for respect, for energy that matches hers. And when it doesn't come, she keeps going, unbothered, unshaken, unapologetic, because she's learned something the world didn't teach her, that being alone and being desperate are not the same thing. You see, desperation comes from lack. Solitude, when embraced, comes from abundance. And a woman who's discovered her own abundance, she attracts from a different place. She calls in love that's deep, friendships that are real, opportunities that align, not because she's chasing, but because she's shining. And shine always attracts. Chapter 4. Alone, but not empty. Let me say this loud for the people in the back. Being alone does not mean being empty. Can we please stop confusing solitude with sadness? There are women out there, maybe even listening right now, who are living the richest, fullest, most beautiful lives without being constantly surrounded. And they are not broken. They are not incomplete. They are not lacking. They're just whole in their own space. See, we've been told a lie, a big one, that happiness must look like partnership, that joy only comes through connection, that a woman, by herself, is somehow unfinished. But that's just not true. A woman who enjoys her own company is someone who's filled her own well. She dances in her kitchen. She laughs at her own jokes. She takes herself out for coffee, for walks, for sunsets, and doesn't need someone next to her to feel alive, because she knows how to be present, even when she's alone. Let's flip the narrative, shall we? Loneliness is not being alone. Loneliness is being surrounded yet unseen. It's laying next to someone, feeling emptier than ever. It's smiling at the party, while your soul whispers, "You don't belong here." That is loneliness. But solitude. Solitude is intentional. It's sacred. It's powerful. It's where the real work gets done. It's where a woman finds out who she is without the noise. It's where she heals, where she dreams, where she finally breathes. And listen, this doesn't mean she doesn't want connection. It just means she's not depending on it to define her. She'll welcome love. Yes, she'll celebrate friendship. She'll honor deep connection. But she'll never again trade her peace for proximity. Because now she knows. Her life is not a waiting room. She's not holding space for someone to show up and complete her. She is not an empty glass, she is the whole ocean. And the woman who realizes that, she becomes unstoppable. Chapter 5. What she builds in the dark. You ever wonder why some people glow without needing a spotlight? Why some women walk into the world quietly? And yet, everything they touch turns to gold. It's because of what they built in the dark. See? The woman who loves being alone doesn't waste her solitude. She uses it. While others fill their time chasing distraction, she's planting seeds. She's laying foundations. She's becoming. She reads. She writes. She learns new skills. She dreams out loud even if no one's clapping yet. You might not see her posting every win on social media, but trust me, she's making moves. Behind the scenes, behind the silence, behind the stillness. Solitude becomes her sanctuary and her studio. Because when there are no eyes watching, she's free to try, to fail, to grow. And here's what most people miss. It's in those quiet hours. when no one's looking, that she becomes the most dangerous version of herself, the version who doesn't just survive. She creates. She writes business plans on napkins. She maps out dreams on midnight walks. She builds confidence rep by rep in the gym. She prays over ideas that no one even knows exist yet. And one day she steps into the light, not because she chased it, but because she earned it. And suddenly, the world says, where did she come from? But she's been here, grinding, growing, glowing, in the dark. So if you're in a season of being unseen, don't shrink, don't rush, don't doubt the process. This might just be your building season. And when you reintroduce yourself to the world, they won't recognize you. Because you've become the woman who made peace with her shadows and built her crown there. Chapter 6. She's her own safe place. Let's talk about something real, something deep. How many times have you looked for safety in other people? Be honest. How many times have you trusted someone to hold your heart only for them to drop it? How many times have you waited for someone to tell you, you're okay, you're beautiful, you're enough? Now let me ask you this. What if the safest place you could ever run to was yourself? That's what happens when a woman learns to love being alone. She becomes her own shelter. No longer does she beg for comfort in broken places. No longer does she chase after apologies that never come. No longer does she sit in rooms where her spirit doesn't feel safe. She knows how to hold herself now. She talks herself through the storms. She wipes her own tears. She whispers truth over her own wounds, not because she wants to be strong all the time, but because she's learned that her peace is too precious to be outsourced. She's not waiting to be rescued. She's not waiting to be fixed. She's not waiting for someone to show up and save her. She already did that. She saved herself by walking away from what didn't honor her. She saved herself by setting boundaries she used to be afraid to draw. She saved herself by becoming her own best friend. And I want you to hear this, especially if your heart's still healing. You don't have to stay where your spirit is shrinking. You don't have to explain your worth to anyone who doesn't see it. You don't have to keep breaking your own heart just to make someone else feel comfortable. You are allowed to be your own safe place, to come home to yourself, to choose peace, even if it means walking alone. Because the truth is, the moment you start doing that, you stop settling. You stop clinging to half-loves and almosts. You stop confusing comfort with connection, and you start living from a place of wholeness, not needing someone to carry you, but welcoming those who want to walk beside you. There's nothing more powerful than a woman who knows she is safe with herself. Chapter 7. The men who can't handle her. Now this one might sting a little, but let's talk about it. There are men who will see a woman standing in her power, and instead of rising to meet her, they'll shrink. Not because she's done anything wrong, but because she refuses to be small just to make someone else feel big. You've seen it. You've felt it. You've loved people who were intimidated by the way you didn't need them. And instead of appreciating your strength, they tried to dim it. They didn't know how to love a woman who didn't beg, who didn't cling, who could walk away and mean it. And here's what no one tells you. It's not your job to shrink for someone else's comfort. You're not too much. You're not too intense. You're not too strong. You're just too awake for someone who's still asleep. You see, weak men emotionally, spiritually, mentally often confuse power with threat. They confuse your standards with attitude, your silence with rejection, your confidence with ego. But the truth is, they're just not ready. They're not ready for the woman who sets boundaries and enforces them. The woman who doesn't fall for charm but waits for consistency. The woman who says, "I'd rather be alone than poorly loved." And let me say this to every woman listening right now. You're not here to be handled. You're not here to be tamed, fixed, or managed. You're here to be seen, understood, celebrated, and yes, challenged in love, but never controlled. Because here's the beautiful part. There are men out there who won't be afraid of your strength, who won't flinch at your silence, who won't run from your clarity. Men who will see your solitude and say, "She's not lonely, she's grounded." Men who will respect the way you choose peace over performance. Men who will add to your life, not invade it. So please, stop watering yourself down to be digestible. Stop apologizing for how far you've come. Stop playing small in love, hoping it makes someone stay. The right one. He won't just stay. He'll match your energy. Until then, keep walking, keep growing, keep becoming. Because your power isn't a problem, it's a filter. And it's already weeding out the ones who aren't ready. Chapter 8. Solitude brings vision. Let me tell you something nobody talks about enough. When life gets quiet, vision gets loud. There's something almost sacred about being alone. No distractions, no opinions, no noise. Just you, your thoughts, your heart. And suddenly, you start seeing clearly. You start noticing what actually matters. You begin to question the paths you were taught to follow. You realize how much of your energy was spent pleasing others. You see where you were chasing applause when all you really wanted was peace. That's the gift of solitude. It strips away the unnecessary. It reveals the core. When a woman steps into solitude with intention, she doesn't just get rest. She gets revelation. She starts dreaming again. She starts creating again. She starts hearing the voice she buried beneath all the noise. You know what I'm talking about, that inner voice. The one that says, "This job doesn't fulfill me. This relationship doesn't align. This life I'm living isn't mine." That voice gets louder in solitude. And instead of running from it, the wise woman listens. She doesn't numb it with noise. She leans in. And what she finds is clarity. She realizes that the things she thought she needed weren't needs. They were distractions. She sees her worth apart from the roles she's played. She sees her future without depending on anyone else to draw the map. She becomes a visionary, not just for her career, but for her life. And that's why solitude is dangerous. Because once a woman sees clearly, she stops settling. She stops accepting crumbs. She stops waiting for permission. She stops living on autopilot. She becomes intentional, focused, unstoppable. So if you're in a season of quiet right now, don't fight it. Don't rush it. Don't fear it. This could be the season where your eyes open, where your soul aligns, where your real life begins. All because you finally gave yourself the gift of solitude. Chapter 9. She's dangerous because she's unshakable. By now, you've probably realized something. This woman we've been talking about, the one who walks in silence, chooses solitude, and refuses to settle. She's not dangerous because she's aggressive. She's dangerous because she's unshakable. She's the kind of woman life can hit hard, and she still stands up straighter. She's felt loss. She's known heartbreak. She's watched people walk away and never look back. But she didn't crumble. She regrouped. She healed in private. And when she re-emerged, she came back stronger, wiser, more grounded than ever. That's the thing about women who love being alone. They've been to the bottom. They've faced their demons. They've cried in the shower, screamed into pillows, journaled their way through pain, and still they rose. Now they don't flinch. You can't gaslight them anymore. You can't guilt them into staying small. You can't manipulate them with false promises or temporary pleasure, because they've learned how to sit with the discomfort instead of running from it. They've learned how to walk away from almost loves, how to breathe through silence, how to live without applause. And once a woman reaches that level of emotional independence, she becomes immune to the games. People can try to provoke her, impress her, distract her, but her peace is too expensive to gamble. That's what makes her dangerous. Not to everyone, but to the ones who depend on control, because they can't move her, they can't shake her, they can't break her. She's calm but not passive. She's kind but not naive. She's giving but only to those who give back. This is the kind of woman who walks away with grace, who speaks with clarity, who loves deeply but from overflow. Never lack. And if you're becoming this woman, or you're already her, don't ever let the world convince you to tone it down. They will try, because your power exposes their insecurity. Your stillness disturbs their chaos. Your strength reminds them of everything they haven't faced. But that's not your problem. You weren't made to be manageable. You were made to be free. And the woman who is free within herself, she's the most dangerous of all. Ost. Chapter 10. The woman who chooses herself. Here's where it all comes together. At the end of the day, the most powerful decision a woman will ever make is not who she marries, not what she wears, not where she works. It's this: will she choose herself? Will she choose her peace over their pressure, her growth over their comfort, her truth over their expectations? That choice defines everything. The woman who loves being alone has already made that choice. She's chosen to stop waiting to be picked. She's chosen to stop begging to be loved. She's chosen to stop performing for approval. She woke up one day and said, "I'm not abandoning myself anymore." And from that day forward, everything changed. She no longer entertains relationships that drain her. She no longer signs up for roles that silence her. She no longer bends herself backwards just to make others feel secure, because she understands this one sacred truth. When you choose yourself, you stop betraying yourself. And that's what real self-love looks like. It's not always bubble baths and soft music. Sometimes it's walking away. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's sitting alone on a Friday night and feeling full anyway. She understands that choosing herself isn't an act of rebellion. It's an act of reverence. It's saying to the world, this life is mine. This body is mine. This mind, this heart, this time, all mine. And I won't waste them. So yes, she's dangerous. Because the woman who chooses herself can't be guilted into playing small. She can't be pressured into people-pleasing. She can't be manipulated with shame. She's not afraid of starting over. She's not afraid of standing alone. She's not afraid of being misunderstood. Because she knows that in choosing herself, she's chosen the one person who will never leave her. And that person is enough. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. This is your permission to stop asking for permission, to walk in your truth, to protect your peace, to honor your boundaries, to choose yourself fully. Because once you do that, you stop chasing a life that fits in and start building a life that's true. One choice, one voice, one powerful woman, choosing herself again and again and again. Again. Conclusion. She doesn't just survive. She reigns. She doesn't just survive. She reigns. You see, survival was never the end goal. Yes, she's been through it. The heartbreak, the loneliness, the moments when the world turned silent and she had nothing to hold on to but her own breath. She's survived nights that tried to swallow her whole, seasons where no one checked in, rooms where she felt invisible. But she didn't break. She didn't fold. She didn't become bitter. She became better. And now, she walks differently. Not because life got easier, but because she got stronger. She learned that her peace is worth more than approval. That her solitude is not a weakness, it's a throne. And she sits on it with grace. Not arrogance, but certainty. She doesn't need to prove herself. She's already proved everything to herself. She doesn't chase what doesn't align. She doesn't cling to what drains her. She doesn't lose herself trying to be enough for people who can't even see her. No. Now she knows. She's not here to survive the noise. She's here to rise above it. She reigns in her stillness. She reigns in her boundaries. She reigns in her joy, her power, her softness, her truth. And when she walks into a room, she doesn't demand attention. She commands it quietly. Because when a woman loves being alone, she's tapped into something sacred. She's returned to herself. She's remembered her worth. She's reclaimed her voice. And from that place, she builds. She heals. She leads. Not with a crown made of gold, but with one made of fire. So if you're listening to this, if something in your heart has been stirred, don't be afraid of the silence. Don't fear the seasons where it's just you. Lean in, because in that quiet, you'll find your courage. In that solitude, you'll meet your strength. And in that stillness, you'll realize you were never meant to just survive this life. You were born to reign. So rise, shine, and walk like the queen you are. Alone, maybe, but never less than powerful, never less than whole, and never again waiting to be chosen. Because now you've chosen yourself, and that changes everything.